We're going to talk today a little bit about the mechanics of bridge building. And as you probably figured out from the introduction, I am not an engineer. I am not going to talk to you about how we actually build a bridge, like cement and stone and steel bridge. We're going to talk about a different kind of bridge building and building bridges between people and relational bridges. When you think of a bridge, you think of a structure that gets you from point A to point B, right? Wikipedia defines a bridge as a structure built to span physical obstacles, such as a body of water, a valley, a road, for the purpose of providing passage over said obstacle. If you think about a bridge that way, it's really a mechanism just to take you from here to there. But a bridge isn't really a mechanism to take you from here to there. It's a connector, right? A bridge brings two things that are completely separate together. And that's what we're going to actually talk about today, and how I think people can do that more in their lives. As an American, and sorry about the notes, it'll help me. It'll help you. You'll appreciate it. As an American living in South Africa, I feel like I have a pretty fresh perspective on life and on kind of the way that people are living their lives, or the way that I'm living my life, at least, for sure. And I can tell you that I look around, and many people aren't living their life necessarily in the right way, right? There's no right or wrong, but they're focusing on the wrong things. Not just in South Africa, all over the world. And I can say this because I used to be one of those people. I had a job, and I worked 9 to 5, well, more like 8 in the morning until 8 at night. I went into the office, and I put on a suit and tie, and when I came home, I had my fancy TV, and I had a nice flat in Manhattan, and I had, my expensive couch and furniture, and like material things, right? And that is what I was like caring about. And I was missing kind of the most important thing that you need in your life, which is happiness, and true happiness. And where we're going with this talk is that, for me, I don't think that you can be truly happy when you're focused on those material things. Focusing on those material things is not the answer. So what you need to focus on is the people around you. And I'm not talking about your family and your friends. Obviously, those are important people to focus on. But I'm talking about the people that you interact with every single day, right? The people that you meet on your way to get your coffee in the morning, the barista who makes you your coffee that you see every single day of the week, that you can just greet and make their day a little bit better. The person who serves you at the restaurant, the person who packs your groceries at Woolies. By showing a genuine care and an interest and a curiosity in them and in their lives, and by starting conversations with them, you're not only going to have a better day yourself, but you're impacting their day. You're changing their day for the better as well. So that's what we're going to talk about: the bridges, the connections, the human spirit. People always ask me, "You moved from New York to South Africa? Why? It happened at lunch today." Why did you move here? It's not a hard question to answer. I always say, look around you. This country is filled with so much beauty. The people, the culture, the landscape, everything about it. I actually came on holiday, and I just fell in love, and I decided to stay. I was like, wow, this place feels like home. And when somewhere feels like home, you don't want to leave it, right? That's the whole concept of feeling at home. So I was just like, wow, I'm not going back. I was working virtually for American Express at the time, so it was easy for me, relatively speaking, because I just continued working, just from South Africa. So I would wake up every day, and I would have basically my whole day free, and then from 3 o'clock on, I would have to sit in front of a laptop and phone in and be on Skype meetings. It was terrible. Wasn't really accomplishing kind of the objective, right? So when I left American Express, I didn't know what I was going to do. But making kind of South Africa my home, I wanted to do something where I was going to bring people together and meet different people. And actually, when I started Secret Eats, the idea was just to bring people together. I just wanted to go to an underground dinner. How cool does that sound? A dinner somewhere that is not a restaurant. An art gallery, a private home, a backyard, an abandoned warehouse with strangers. When I explained this concept to people here, they were like, you want to do what? No, we don't have things like that. That's weird. People wouldn't go to that. And I was like, oh, you guys are missing out. It's going to be so awesome. And everyone I talked to was like, yeah, it sounds really great, but it wouldn't work here. I mean, I would go, but nobody else would go. And the more people I spoke to about it, everybody kept saying that. Everybody kept saying, well, I would do it, but nobody else would go to it. I was like, okay, well, guess what? With a background in web and marketing and social media, I figured, all right, well, this can't be that hard. I'm going to start a website. I'm going to start a Facebook. I'm going to start a Twitter. I have a friend who's a chef. Let's give this a go. And that's literally how Secret Eats started. It was all about bringing people together kind of around a dining table, around a shared experience. I used to work for the big company. I used to have the boring job. It was cool at first, but it's pretty boring overall. Now I feel like I have the coolest job in the world. I connect people, right? I'm a builder, an architect, a entrepreneur, a connector, I think is the best way to describe it. So that's really important for the concept. Because it's not about the food, it's not about the space. It is cool, the spaces are cool, but it's not about being in an art gallery or being in a warehouse. It's about the people that you bring together around that table. These are people that would have never sat down at this table together. It's not about the chef or about the food that they're making. It's about these people coming together, and they come in as strangers, and you leave as friends. That's an awesome feeling to know that that's happening. We also do a singles one, and I got an email from a girl once after, and she said, I invited her to another one. She sent me an email, and she said, Greg, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm not coming to this one, though. I had a really, really awesome time at the last one. I think I'm in love. I was like, whoa, all right. Not too bad. But that's the idea, right? It's about doing something that rewards you and that builds these bridges and makes these connections. So I'm straying a bit. So I want to stay focused. Basically, I want to give you guys some tips on how you can build these bridges, how you can make these connections in your life. My first tip is that you need to be open to it. All day long, you're out and about in the world, right? You go to coffee shops, you sit at a restaurant, you're busy on your phone, or you're flipping through a magazine, or your mind is somewhere else. But stop and be present in that time. Right? What if you're sitting there? One of my best friends I actually met because he was a server at Need on Cleef Street. And we just started chatting, and we became friends from that. Another friend, we went on a failed first date, and we just stayed in touch. Be open to those kinds of opportunities and those kinds of possibilities because you never know who you're going to meet. Just chatting with the barista, chatting with the person next to you, whatever it might be. I wasn't sure if I was going to tell this anecdote or not, but I went to Africa Burn this year. I don't know how much you guys know about Africa Burn. I didn't know much about it at all. I knew that it was in the desert, and it was going to get really, really hot and really, really cold. So I needed to bring a jersey, and I needed to bring a vest. We don't use those words, by the way. It's a tank top and a sweater, but I've adapted. So I needed to bring a jersey and a vest, and I knew it was going to be dirty. People were like, oh, it's going to be so dusty. You're going to be really, really dirty. I wasn't really keen on going because none of that sounds fun. Extreme temperatures, going to be dirty, sleep on the ground. I don't know if you guys can tell or not. I'm not really one for sleeping on the ground. Not huge fan. So when we didn't get tickets right off the bat, I was like, oh, sweet. Dodged a bullet on this one. I was like, sorry, baby. Oh, man, it's sold out. Well, then we got tickets, and I was like, oh, dang, we're going to have to go to this now. And it was one of the most amazing, epic experiences of my entire life. That's what I'm talking about. Be open to it. Be ready to go and do things that you wouldn't normally do and put yourself in situations that you wouldn't normally put yourself in. A friend that we met there, actually, he was just a random person that we met there at Africa Burn. He said one of the things that will always stick with me. He said, always say yes. It's a bit impractical, right? You can't always say yes. I mean, you can think of lots of situations where it's not really appropriate to say yes. But I think what he was trying to say, or the meaning behind that, is really what the takeaway is, right? Always be open to the possibility of saying yes. Don't close yourself off to things, and yeah, always say yes. The next lesson, or the next piece of advice I would give you, is to have a genuine interest and curiosity about you and about the people around you. You're not going to make the lady's day at Woolies who's packing your bag by being, on your phone, but you are going to make her smile if you chat to her, you ask her how she's doing, you get to know her, you interact back and forth with her. I don't really have a particular grocery store preference, but I do choose one over the other. And it's not related to the food. It's not related to the quality of the food. It's related to the service that you get when you get there, right? And the people that you interact with. When you go to one grocery store and they don't even speak to you or they don't really have an interest, you don't want to go back to that grocery store. Be the person who makes that person's day, if that makes any sense. The next one is be the driving force. Don't be a passive person. If you want to talk to someone, if you think that they're interesting or cool, or if you really enjoyed their talk, don't be like, oh man, I really enjoyed your talk. I wish I could say hi or whatever, right? Go up to them and be like, hey, your talk was awesome. You really, really did a great job. Or wow, that's a really cool hat. Or whatever it might be. Meant to tell you that earlier. Cool hat. But don't be afraid to do that, right? If you don't do it and they don't do it, guess what? You're going to miss out on an opportunity to meet someone who could be your next best friend, who could be your future business partner, who could be anything, who could be the most awesome person in the world. And I think that's the point there. Don't let those opportunities pass by. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, like what am I supposed to do? Talk to the guy like sitting next to me at the coffee shop? Yes, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. We all grew up and our parents always said, you guys know that expression, don't talk to strangers? Well, you're a grown-up now. Throw that rule away. There's nothing that's going to harm you from talking to that person. Item number 4 is let your positivity shine through. And I think this one is an important one. It was Heritage Day, and I was sitting with a friend, and I was like, I really, really don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm really having a hard time. And she's like, positivity. Why don't you talk about like being positive and being like open to new things? And I was like, oh, that's cool. All right. So I wanted to put it in here because I think it's an important point. If you're happy and positive and energetic, that reflects back on the people that you're interacting with. I'll give you a great example. When I worked for American Express, I was not necessarily always happy. I was grumpy a lot, actually. And when you are managing people and you go into a meeting and you're grumpy with them, right? You're like, oh, yeah, nice of you to be on time for the meeting. Here's the agenda, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They're not very motivated. They're not very excited. You're not very motivated. You're not very excited. You go to meetings to collaborate, to work together, to inspire. So guess what you need to do? You need to put on your happy face and you need to go there and be positive. So it's my little chirp on that. It's hot up here. I would say the 5th thing is to stop doing the things that you don't want to do. It's a big one. Or that you know you shouldn't be doing, right? I'll give you an example here. It's kind of weird. It's actually an embarrassing example because it's not. It's reflects badly on me. I used to be a giant litter bug, and I know you guys are probably like, "Ew, gross. Why would you like litter?" And I don't know why I littered. I just did. Stupidity, I guess. It was not. It was back while I was living in the States, and I think that it just comes down to like you thinking or me thinking that my time was more valuable than walking over to the bin to throw my garbage away. How disgusting is that? Like if you really think about what that means, like whether it's physical garbage, like a paper bag that you've got, junk in that you drop out of like your car window, or whether you're like dropping emotional like drama or baggage or whatever onto people, like that's just rude and it's dirty and it's gross. Go to the bin. And I think there are things that you probably have in your lives that you can think of that are like that you know you shouldn't be doing, that you do because it's habit or that it's pattern. Break free from that. Kind of in closing, I guess, someone once asked me, I was at a music festival in Joburg with a really good friend of mine who we actually ended up meeting like 10 times before he even knew my name. And we met 10 different times, but we officially met in Park Road, at a restaurant in Park Road. And we were the big group of friends or whatever, and he's like, hey, I'm Rousseau. I don't think we've met. I was like, we've met like 10 times. I'm Greg. pretty memorable. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. And we have literally become such great friends from there on. And we were at this festival, and a friend of a friend was with us. And the friend said, Greg, you're so happy all the time. I don't understand it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's how it goes. And he goes, well, how do you know that you're really happy? And that took me by surprise. I was like, oh, man, geez, how do you know that you're really happy? Like, what does that even mean? And I took a minute and I kind of reflected on that. And I turned to him and I said, well, how do you know that you're not? It's just about, I mean, we've heard a lot of great talks today, right? It's just about changing your perspective and changing your point of view. That's it.